Every ship you've crossed the sea on, every ferry, cargo liner, warship, is driven by a blade underwater that works like a wing, not a paddle, a rotating wing. And it exists because a farmer's prototype accidentally went faster when it snapped in half. A farmer named Francis Pettit Smith cracked it in 1836, testing small models on a canal outside London. No naval training, no engineering degree, 25 years old and filing a patent for something he couldn't fully explain. The problem? Paddle wheels only push when they're submerged, roll the ship in heavy weather, and one paddle lifts into the air, spinning uselessly, while the other buries and drags the hull sideways. You needed thrust that waves couldn't disrupt. But how do you convince the most powerful navy in the world when your only proof is a broken toy going faster than it should? By 1835, paddle wheels ran everything: Atlantic packets, river ferries, warships. They worked in calm water. In anything else, they fought the ocean. Here's the engineering problem. A paddle blade enters the water at an angle. That entry is pure waste. It does useful work only during the short arc where it's fully submerged, roughly 40 degrees out of every 360. Then it drags back out, throwing water sideways. Maximum efficiency in flat water? About 40%. 60% of every engine's output gone. And that was the ideal case. In heavy seas, it collapsed completely. Roll the ship and one paddle lifts clear, spinning uselessly in air, while the other overbites the wave, both turning at the same rate, one grabbing nothing, the other grabbing far too much. The ship yaws, skewing off its heading, fighting itself. The captain can't steer straight. The engineer can't fix it without throttling back both engines. What you needed was a device fully submerged at all times, unaffected by the ship's roll, generating continuous symmetric thrust with every rotation. Nobody in 1835 had one that worked. Engineers had been working on this for 2 decades. Every proposal came back to the same failure. Any mechanism that touched the water's surface was at the ocean's mercy. The first serious attempt came in 1827 from Josef Ressel, a Czech inventor who proposed wrapping the blade into a full helical spiral, like a wood screw turning through timber. The logic was straightforward. A wood screw engages across its entire spiral length. Surely a water screw would do the same. But here is the hidden problem. The leading section of the helix accelerates still water backward. That's thrust. The trailing section arrives into water already set in motion by the leading section. Pushing water that's already moving is not thrust, it's drag. Net gain over a paddle wheel? Almost nothing. Russel's test ship ran a trial on the Adriatic in 1829. Austrian authorities shut it down over noise concerns. The full-helix screw propeller was shelved. Smith arrived at the same design independently, working from a farm in Hendon, north of London. In May 1836, he filed a patent for a full-helix screw propeller and convinced a London banker named Wright to fund a small test vessel, 6 tons, steam-powered, 2 full turns of helix, tested on the Paddington Canal through 1836. Early results were unremarkable. The full helix drag problem was present. Smith and his backer just didn't know it yet. Meanwhile, in London, a Swedish engineer named John Ericsson had come at the same problem from the opposite direction. Where Smith built farm models, Ericsson was a trained military engineer, precise, combative, and completely certain of himself. Ericsson's design was already more refined, a short, high-angle blade rather than a full helix. In 1837, he arranged a Thames demonstration for the British Admiralty. His vessel towed a Royal Navy barge upstream at walking pace. The Admiralty watched for 5 minutes, then left. Official verdict? Impractical. The screw was placed too far aft. Ericsson, furious, emigrated to the United States. Then, during a Canal trial in late 1836, Smith's wooden helix struck submerged debris and snapped, losing 1 complete turn of the spiral. He didn't stop to repair it. He measured the speed first. The boat had accelerated. Before the break, 2 full turns of helix, a long trailing drag section followed by a short leading thrust section. After the break, only the leading section remained, the drag zone gone, the thrust zone intact. Without the trailing helix churning water already in motion, the boat went faster. What was left was no longer a helix. It was a short, curved blade angled to the water, moving through it in a circle. It had, by accident, become a wing. Smith had the instinct to record the speed improvement before repairing it. He wrote to his backer Wright that evening. They knew what they had, even if they couldn't yet fully explain the physics. The shape in Smith's hand was the same cross-section as a wing. He didn't know it yet. The physics was the same regardless. Here is the mental model that unlocks all of this. A propeller blade is not a paddle. It is a wing, the same foil cross-section rotating through water. The blade moves through water at an angle called its pitch. In aviation terms, this is the angle of attack, the angle between the blade surface and the direction it's moving. This angle is everything. Water accelerates faster across the curved front face. That drops the pressure. It slows across the flat back face. Pressure rises. That pressure gap pulls the blade forward. There is no pushing. There is only this pressure difference across 2 faces of a curved surface. That lift force points diagonally. One component acts backward, drag. The other points forward, in the direction the ship travels, thrust. The same physics as a wing generating lift, except here, lift becomes forward motion. Now rotate that blade in a circle. Every position in the rotation, same pitch angle, same pressure differential, same forward thrust. Continuous engine torque becomes continuous forward force. Always submerged, always working. Increase the pitch angle and thrust increases until the flow across the front face separates. Pressure differential collapses. The blade stalls, exactly like a wing at too steep an angle. The propeller has a design optimum, just as a wing does. Against the paddle wheel, 40 degrees of useful thrust out of 360. The propeller, 360 out of 360. In rough seas, one stops working, the other doesn't notice. Smith filed an improved patent. The blade shortened to the surviving foil geometry. His backers agreed to fund a full-scale trial vessel, the SS Archimedes, 237 tons. Sea trials 1839. Top speed, over 10 knots. Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who had been mid-construction on the SS Great Britain as a paddle steamer, borrowed the Archimedes. He sailed her for 6 months. Then he tore the paddle wheels out of the Great Britain and rebuilt her as a screw ship. Smith never became a celebrated name. He was a farmer who broke a Canal model and wrote down what he saw. But the first iron steamship to cross the Atlantic under screw propulsion carried his blade geometry in its hull. The patent royalties eventually made him comfortable. The fame went elsewhere. The Royal Navy still wasn't fully convinced, so on April 3, 1845, they arranged a test that would settle it permanently. HMS Rattler, screw propulsion, versus HMS Electo, paddle wheels. Same displacement, both ships at full steam. Both ships ordered to full steam ahead in opposite directions. HMS Electo's paddle wheels were thrashing at maximum power. She was going backward at 2.5 knots. Paddle wheels at full power, going in reverse. Every admiral on the observation vessel understood what they were watching. Every paddle wheel warship in the British fleet, decades of construction, millions in cost, was made obsolete in a single afternoon. Within a decade, every major naval power had converted to screw propulsion. Not after years of debate, after one tug of war. Erickson read about it from New York, where he had already designed the USS Princeton, the first screw-propelled warship in the American Navy. He had been right in 1837. The Admiralty had simply not wanted to know. Every container ship crossing the Pacific today, vessels the length of 3 football fields, runs on a blade geometry that traces directly to a broken wooden screw on the Paddington Canal in 1836. The Wright brothers' propeller used the same principle. Wilbur Wright designed it explicitly as a rotating wing, not a paddle. Every aircraft propeller ever built is Smith's broken blade, turning through air instead of water. Run the physics backward. Instead of engine power generating thrust, let wind pressure drive rotation across the same foil surface. That is a wind turbine blade. Same cross-section, same angle of attack, same pressure differential, reversed. And the drone hovering outside your window, its 4 rotors hold it in the air by generating lift through pressure differential across a curved blade surface. The same wing, the same pressure gap, the same accident on a canal in 1836. A farmer broke a toy, wrote down what he saw, and the shape he accidentally discovered is now moving more mass across the Earth than any other mechanism in human history.